Have you ever left a conversation feeling completely drained, confused, and somehow smaller? You might think you just had a bad interaction, but what if it was something more? What if you just encountered a master of manipulation, hidden in plain sight? These individuals can be charming, successful, and magnetic, drawing you into their orbit before you realize the true cost. They are experts at making you feel like the most special person in the world, only to later make you question your own sanity. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on one of the most complex and challenging personality types you can encounter. We're going to explore the 8 warning signs that you're dealing with someone who has strong narcissistic traits. And the last sign is the most deceptive of all, because it's often disguised as intense love and affection. Recognizing these signs isn't about labeling people, it's about protecting your own mental peace and well-being. First, let's talk about the fairy tale beginning. The first sign is the love bombing phase. When you first meet them, it feels like you've stepped into a movie. They shower you with attention, affection, and praise. You get endless texts, calls, and compliments. They tell you things like, "I've never met anyone like you," or "You're everything I've ever been looking for," often within the first few weeks. It's an intoxicating, dizzying whirlwind romance that makes you feel seen and cherished like never before. The psychology behind this is not about genuine connection, it's about control. This overwhelming display of affection is a calculated tactic to make you dependent on them. They create an idealized, perfect version of your relationship so that you become hooked on the feeling they provide. By making you feel incredibly special, they are establishing a baseline of adoration that they will later use as a weapon. When they eventually withdraw this affection, you'll find yourself scrambling to get back to that initial perfect phase, willing to do almost anything to regain their approval. Imagine you start dating someone new. Within a month, they're talking about your future together, buying you expensive gifts you mentioned in passing, and telling all their friends you're the one. It feels amazing, but there's a little voice in your head saying, "This is too fast." That voice is right. This isn't love, it's the construction of a cage with bars made of flattery. Next up, we have the second, more obvious sign, a grandiose sense of self-importance. This is the classic trait most people associate with narcissism. They genuinely believe they are superior to everyone else. They talk endlessly about their accomplishments, their talents, and their amazing life, often exaggerating them. They act as if the world revolves around them and that their needs and feelings are far more important than anyone else's. The psychological root of this isn't true self-confidence. It's actually a mask for a deeply fragile and insecure sense of self. They build up this grandiose exterior to protect themselves from a profound feeling of inner emptiness. To feel valid, they need to believe they are extraordinary. They require a constant stream of external validation, which is often called narcissistic supply. Think about a coworker who dominates every meeting. No matter what the topic is, they somehow steer the conversation back to a project they led or a problem only they could solve. If you share a personal success, they'll either immediately one-up you with a bigger success story or subtly diminish yours by saying something like, "Oh, that's nice. Reminds me of the time I closed that huge deal for the company." Their world has one main character, and it's always them. This leads us directly to the third, and perhaps most chilling, sign, a profound lack of empathy. Someone with strong narcissistic traits is often incapable of truly understanding or sharing the feelings of others. They might be able to feign concern if it serves them, but they lack the genuine ability to put themselves in someone else's shoes. Your feelings, your struggles, and your joys are, at best, an abstraction to them, and at worst, an inconvenience. Psychologically, this is because they view other people as objects or extensions of themselves. People exist to serve a purpose in their lives, to provide admiration, to be a useful tool, or to make them look good. Because they don't see you as a separate, whole person with your own inner world, your emotions simply don't register as important. Imagine you're going through a tough time, maybe you lost your job or are dealing with a family issue. You try to confide in them, hoping for a shoulder to lean on. Instead of offering comfort, they might say, "Well, you should have seen that coming," or quickly change the subject back to their own minor annoyance, like how their favorite coffee shop was out of oat milk that morning. Your genuine pain is met with cold logic or complete indifference. It's a deeply isolating experience. But their indifference to your feelings doesn't stop them from needing yours. This brings us to sign number 4, a constant and insatiable need for admiration. This goes beyond just liking a compliment. A person with narcissistic traits has an unquenchable thirst for attention and praise. They are like an empty vessel that you can never quite fill. They need to be told, repeatedly, how great, smart, attractive, and successful they are. Their self-worth is entirely external, and without a steady stream of admiration, they feel anxious, empty, and worthless. The psychology here is tied to their fragile ego. Lacking an internal sense of value, they rely on others to reflect their greatness back at them. This is the narcissistic supply we mentioned earlier. It's their emotional fuel. If this supply is cut off, they can become sullen, irritable, or even fly into a rage. Think of a friend who constantly fishes for compliments. They might post dozens of selfies and then get moody if they don't get enough likes. Or they'll repeatedly ask for your opinion on something they did, not because they value your feedback, but because they need to hear you praise them. They might ask, "Don't you think I handled that situation perfectly?" The only correct answer is an enthusiastic yes. Anything less is seen as a betrayal. When admiration isn't enough to control you, they might turn to a more sinister tactic. Sign number 5 is gaslighting. Gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation where a person makes you doubt your own memory, perception, and sanity. They will deny saying things you clearly remember them saying. They will twist your words, rewrite history, and insist that you are the one who was confused, overly emotional, or crazy. This is a devastatingly effective control tactic. By systematically dismantling your trust in your own mind, the manipulator makes you more dependent on their version of reality. If you can't trust yourself, you have no choice but to trust them. It's how they maintain power and avoid accountability for their actions. Here's a classic example. You confront your partner about a promise they broke. Instead of apologizing, they say, "I never promised that." You must have imagined it. When you insist, they double down. You're always making things up. You're being too sensitive again. Over time, after hearing this again and again, you start to wonder. Did I imagine it? Am I too sensitive? You begin to second-guess your every feeling and memory, living in a constant state of self-doubt. That confusion is exactly where they want you to be. This belief that they can rewrite reality is linked to our 6th sign, a powerful sense of entitlement. People with narcissistic traits operate under the assumption that they are special and deserve the best of everything, without having to earn it. They expect preferential treatment and believe that rules and social norms simply don't apply to them. They have unreasonable expectations of others and become angry or indignant when their demands are not met. Psychologically, this stems from their grandiose self-view. If you believe you are inherently superior, then it only makes sense that you should receive special privileges. They see themselves as the exception to every rule. Other people's time, resources, and boundaries are secondary to their own wants and needs. You see this in everyday situations. It's the person who cuts the line at the grocery store because they're in a hurry. It's the boss who expects you to work late without notice and gets angry when you say you have other plans. It's the friend who expects you to drop everything to help them move, but is mysteriously busy whenever you need a favor. When you try to enforce a boundary, they don't see it as you protecting your time, they see it as you personally slighting them. This sense of entitlement naturally leads to sign number 7, a pattern of exploitative behavior. Because they lack empathy and feel entitled, individuals with strong narcissistic traits often use other people to achieve their own ends. They are skilled at identifying what people want, be it love, recognition, or opportunity, and using that to their advantage. They form relationships not based on mutual respect, but on a cold calculation of what can this person do for me? Their worldview is transactional and self-serving. People are resources. Once a person is no longer useful, they are often discarded without a second thought. They feel no guilt or remorse for this behavior because, in their mind, they were entitled to whatever they took. Think about a colleague who is incredibly friendly and complimentary when they need your help on a project. They might praise your skills and promise to give you credit. But as soon as the project is done and they've gotten the recognition, they go back to ignoring you. Or consider someone who borrows money with a sob story, playing on your sympathy, but has no actual intention of ever paying you back. They see the transaction as their right and your loss is irrelevant. Finally, we arrive at the eighth warning sign, the one that holds their entire fragile ego together, the inability to handle criticism, also known as narcissistic injury. While they crave praise, they absolutely cannot tolerate criticism, no matter how gentle or constructive it is. Any feedback that suggests they are less than perfect is perceived not as a helpful comment, but as a deep, personal attack. Their reaction is often shockingly disproportionate to the criticism itself. This is because their grandiose self-image is like a balloon. Any pinprick of criticism threatens to pop it entirely, exposing the emptiness inside. This perceived attack is called a narcissistic injury, and it can trigger two primary responses: an explosive, blistering rage, or a cold, punishing silent treatment. Both are designed to punish you for daring to question their perfection. Imagine you gently suggest to your partner that there might be a quicker route to your destination. A typical response might be, "Oh, good idea." But for someone with these traits, the reaction could be a sudden outburst: "Are you saying I don't know how to drive? I've been driving this way for years. You always have to criticize me." Alternatively, they might just fall completely silent, refusing to speak to you for the rest of the car ride, or even for days. You quickly learn that to keep the peace, you must never, ever imply they are anything less than flawless. Recognizing these 8 signs is the first, crucial step toward protecting yourself. It's not about diagnosing anyone from a distance. It's about identifying a pattern of toxic behaviors that can seriously harm your self-esteem and mental well-being. Understanding the why behind their actions, the deep insecurity, the fragile ego, the lack of empathy, can help you depersonalize their behavior. It's not about you, it's about their own internal struggles. By seeing the pattern, you can begin to set boundaries, detach emotionally, and reclaim your own reality. Remember, this video is for educational and entertainment purposes only and is not a substitute for professional advice. If you feel you are in a damaging relationship, seeking support from a qualified professional can make all the difference. Now, I want to hear from you. Thinking about these signs, which one have you found to be the most subtle or the most difficult to spot in real life? Share your experience in the comments below. Your story might be the one that helps someone else finally see what they've been missing.